At that point, I had shelved this whole idea. I was just like, it's not gonna happen in this time frame unless God does it.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Alyssa and you're watching Wonderful Acts. We're so happy to have you back. If you missed the last video, go back and watch that one. So we talked about how Sudan the man proposed. I got the husband back on the channel 2 weeks in a row.
We're taking over.
And he has another Wonderful Act story. What's it about today?
It's about how God unexpectedly provided an engagement ring for Alyssa in a short period of time.
There you have it. So stay tuned. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment below, share this with a friend. And I forgot to wear my ring this video. We're outside in public, so you might hear children being loud. But yeah, okay, so I'm gonna be more quiet this video and I'm just gonna help steer the conversation.
All right, cool, that sounds good. Basically, halfway through our marriage prep course that we took, we talked about that in the last video. There was a moment where they separated the men from the women, and so the couples kind of split up. All the men were in a room, all the women were in a room, and it was essentially to talk about, you know, engagement rings and things like that in an environment where the men could just discuss it. And you know, I had watched this podcast. It's called Freakonomics, and it basically talked about the economy of different industries. And the one episode that I watched was talking about diamond rings. And it talked about the history of how they were marketing diamond rings, and they create this environment where there's a scarcity of diamonds, and they drive the business by doing that. And I was really opposed to diamond rings. I was like, man, this is not like something I want to be a part of and subscribe to. So I thought it was a great opportunity to bring it up in this marriage prep kind of discussion. And from the conversation, I pretty much was like the oddball out, and everybody told me, if you want to get married, you're gonna have to get your girl a diamond ring.
Yes, please.
Or else. So I was like, all right, well, if I'm gonna do it, then I'm gonna do it my own way. I want to do it in the way that I want to do it, and so that way I can have some like kind of creativity and autonomy in the decision-making process. So yeah, that was probably like in the middle of October of that year. And so I actually went to college with this girl who went on to become a gemologist. And so she basically studied in precious stones, diamonds, jewelry, and all of that. So I reached out to her and I was like, hey, I know in the next couple months I'm gonna be on the market for a ring. And so I just would love to connect with you and get some guidance. And I actually was trying to see if we could connect during homecoming that year, but it didn't work out. And I started doing research on my own as well, and then talking to some of my other guy friends who were already engaged or married. And so I learned like the basics of diamonds, you know, color, cut, clarity, and all of those things, and making sure that you get what you're supposed to get, you know, and that everything is good. As I'm going on this journey, I'm counting my income, and I'm counting kind of what I want out of a ring. I'm kind of realizing that I'm not gonna have the money to get what I wanna get her in the time frame that I wanna get it. So I knew at that point it was gonna literally be like a leap of faith for me to be able to turn around and do everything. And I pretty much like gave it to God, like, yo, I wanna get this, and if it's gonna happen, it's not gonna be by my ability. And that was essentially what started that whole process. At this point, I had the conversation with the gemologist, and my main question was, how soon in advance do I need to let you know that I'm ready to pull the trigger to be able to pull off the engagement in the time frame that I wanted to do it? And once she told me like, hey, as long as you can get me everything that I need, the specs, all of the different elements of it, and then the finances, if you give me about 3 weeks time, I can turn it for you. And so I was like, okay, cool. I had that in the back of my mind as we continued kind of going through marriage prep. And the next step was to try to figure out the financial piece on it. I knew that I wanted to get Alyssa a special diamond ring. I knew that I wanted to get her something that was unique and something that she would be able to really appreciate and kind of have that factor of like, wow, like, you know, there's a thought that was put into this, and this is like for me. And so I decided to go the route of getting like a custom stone. I bought the diamond loose, and I picked out the specific, you know, actual ring design and all of the specifics of the diamond, I wanted like very particular. So like for one example, the stone is 1.28 carats, and Alyssa's birthday is January 28th. So I got a stone that was like the same as her birthday, because I was basically clowning her, telling her like, what's your birthstone? Because I was like, why do I have to get you a diamond, you know? What if I want to get you an engagement ring that is your birthstone? And what's your birthstone in January?
Garnet.
A garnet. So I was basically telling her like, I'm gonna get you a garnet engagement ring. And she was just like, no, you're not.
But in hindsight, I feel like I would have liked a garnet engagement ring.
See what I'm saying,
like,
man?
I feel like that would have been even more unique. But no, yours is unique too. But in hindsight, again, but back then I was like, no, it needs to be a diamond.
Correct. And so I was like, all right, I'll get you this. I think like, you know, doing it at a 1.28 carat, that will definitely be something special. It's like your birthday, and you know, it's a nice size, I guess. And yeah, that was like one of the elements. So just thinking like that was every aspect of the ring is what I was kind of going for. And so now it's getting to that crunch time where we're in that kind of 3-week window. And right before, I had kind of reached out and tried to see like, how could I go about financing? Could I get somebody to give me a loan? All of this type of stuff. And I had exhausted all options, and I kind of had given up the hope that it was going to happen. And this was after I had the conversation, like I said in the last video, where I told just some men that were in my life, like, hey, this is kind of what the situation was. They were like, all right, man, you got to just like break it to her, be transparent with her, and let her know what the circumstances are. And so I had to put it on pause. And at that point, I was like, you know what? It is what it is. Like, we're just gonna have to move forward how we move forward.
And at that point, were you trying to hit the December?
I was, yeah.
So
December 24th, I knew that Christmas Eve was very important to Alyssa. I think you had got accepted to college, and you found that news out. You had gotten like a job.
I found out I got the apartment.
You got the apartment video. Yeah, so all of this. So I was like, man, I want to get into this like Christmas Eve mix, like, you know what I mean? And I just felt like that was a good time to propose, because at the beginning of the year, our whole goal was to try to see like if it was God's will for us to be married by the end of the year, you know what I mean? Based on conversations that we had with people who were kind of like guiding us through this process. And so I wanted to get in, and I felt like that was the great time frame to do it. And I had exhausted all of my options, and I was just like, you know what? I don't think that this is gonna happen unless God does it. And at that point, I kind of like gave up. I reached out to the jeweler and I told her, you know, hey, there's the stone. She had it put to the side for me. And I basically told her, like, I don't think I'm gonna be able to pull it off. So you can go ahead and release it, and I'll have to touch back with you like in the beginning of next year. And so she was like, all right, cool. Just keep me posted on what you wanna do. And at that time, I was also in the process of developing a business, like a pharmacy business. And I had some business partners, and the business partners that I were working with, they were a married couple, and they were believers as well. And they had their own established business, and we were building a relationship over this year. At the same time that I was building my relationship with Alyssa, we were trying to develop this pharmacy business. And so at one point in time, I had a meeting with the husband, and I was talking to him, and in the conversation, he asked me, he was like, what's preventing you from getting married? You know what I mean? You've been with your girlfriend for some time now, and you know, I'm just curious, like, why is that a difficulty for you? And I was like, man, to be honest with you, like, I just started practicing pharmacy, and if I had the finances, the resources to just get the ring that I want to get for her, it would not prevent me. That was the only thing that at that point that was preventing me. It was financial. And he's like older, established, and he was really just kind of like smiling at me, and he was like, man, I remember being young and being in that point in life and like wanting to do exactly what you're saying and not being in the right place. And he's like, man, I'm in a place right now where I think that we can work something out. And he's like, I can basically work out a deal where, you know, I purchase the ring for you, and then over the next couple months, you can pay me back for it. That way you don't have to get a loan, you don't have to get interest on it, and you can get the ring in the time frame that you want to get it. And I was just like blown away, you know, like, oh wow, like this is crazy. And you know, I didn't have a long-standing relationship with this person, like over a year or so, and we were doing business together, and so I felt like it was like comfortable for me to be able to move forward in that regard. I knew that I could make the payments and the structure that we had agreed to, And I also just felt like this was like God, because at that point I had shelved this whole idea. I was just like, it's not going to happen in this time frame unless God does it. And so once he kind of gave me that green light, I was like, wow, okay, cool. So we met up, we signed a contract that we had both agreed to, and the terms of it, and then basically now it's like I got to reach back out to the jeweler. Now, mind you, the jeweler is based out of New York, like in the diamond district, where like all the diamonds are coming in, and it's like just like crazy, a lot of movement, and it's holiday season. And so there's a lot of things like factoring into this thing, and I'm like literally pushing up on that 3-week time period that the jeweler had told me. And I'm thinking to myself like, yo, this has to happen. And so after we agreed to the terms, I reached out to my connect, and I was like, hey, do you still have that stone? Like, do you still have that stone? She's like, oh, at that point I think it was like the weekend or something. She's like, well, I gotta kind of see when I go back, I'll let you know. And she got back to me and she told me like, I got it. It's still here, we didn't move it, and it's yours if you want it. And I was like, all right, cool, we have to move forward. So got on the phone, did the transaction with my business partner, went ahead and fronted me the money, and it was just like, okay, now they have to set the stone, actually prepare the ring, and then get it to me. And it was so close up to the bumper at that point that there was no likelihood that if they sent it even overnight, that it was gonna arrive in time because of the holidays. And so I literally had to make a decision of whether I was gonna like go up to New York and get the ring and come back, like take like a mega bus or whatever, the train or whatever, however was gonna happen.
Because we lived in DC.
Because we lived in DC at the time. And it was just like, okay, so how can I turn? So in my mind spinning, I'm like, Lord, please give me wisdom on how to move forward in this situation. And so I had a couple people that I knew that were based out of New York. And my plan was to reach out to somebody that I knew in New York, to have them meet up with the jeweler. And like, mind you, this is like thousands of dollars that like my biggest purchase since I've been like an adult working professionally. And I'm like, this is my first biggest purchase. When I was in pharmacy school taking tests and stuff, I'm never thinking, oh man, as soon as I graduate, the biggest purchase I'm gonna get is gonna be a diamond ring. I'm thinking like, I'm gonna buy a car, I'm gonna buy this, I'm gonna buy that, blah, 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 blah. But lo and behold, this was like the difference between my plans and God's plans. And basically I made it, I made some calls. One of my friends was like, yeah, I'm in New York, I can do it. But there's a couple little variables that would make it kind of difficult in the time frame that you wanted me to do it. And then I called one other friend, one of my guys from Howard, and he was in New York, and he was like, yo, I can't get down to DC, but crazy enough, my girlfriend is celebrating Christmas with her family in DC. So she's already gonna be on her way. So all I have to do is after work, go meet up with the jeweler, pick up the ring, give it to my girlfriend, and my girlfriend can get down to DC.
Drug smuggle.
So I'm like, all right, bet, like let's go. So now
he don't even know the girlfriend. Y'all.
I don't know her like that. But I trusted him. Like, this is somebody that I felt like I had enough confidence in that it was gonna be good. And I didn't really have no other options at that point. Like, my back is to the wall. And so the next thing is, I have to figure out how to get the ring from her at Union Station in DC, the train station, to me. And I had to work that day. And it was like, okay, I can't get off work in such a short notice, the holiday season. So what I did was, I had another friend in DC who I was like, yo, I need you to go to the train station when this train arrives. I gave him all the details for the train. And he literally meets her first thing in the morning. She gets the ring from her boyfriend, takes the train down, gets the ring, gives it to my other friend, and then he comes to my job and literally drops it off at my job. And I was at work that day. I was dressed in my...
that was December 24th.
That was the 24th. It was literally like Christmas Eve. Yeah. And I was at work and I was dressed in like my James Bond like tuxedo.
Yeah, go back and watch the proposal video.
And then boom, he comes, my man brings me the ring. I bless him. I'm like, yo, anything in the store you want to get? Like we sell like vitamins, minerals, supplements, and things like that. So I like hooked him up, got him whatever he needed, and looked out for my man in New York, and basically was like, thank y'all so much. Y'all looked out for me. I had the ring in my hand. I open up the ring. I look at it. I'm like, wow, this is actually happening. Like, this is actually about to happen, like, tonight. And it was like everything was lined up. So I finished work, and then I went home, and I'm waiting for Alyssa. And I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting.
And then you gotta go watch the proposal story about how he actually proposed on Christmas Eve, which is out now. You can go see. So that ring went from New York to your friend, to his girlfriend who came to DC, from the girlfriend to your other friend, and then he drove all the way to give it to you. How did you have the faith to trust?
Like the exchange of hands from like 5 different hands touching this ring. I just had the faith. I trusted that, you know, these are people that I have built relationship with over a long period of time. So, you know, the shortest relationship that I had was honestly with my business partners, like, and you know, if he was willing to front me the money and we could work that deal out, and I just knew like everything was just lining up, like the fact that the stone was still there, the fact that they were going to be able to get it all in time, and you know, we were looking at all options, like, do we overnight it, do I go up there? So with all of the pieces in place, God, I really just felt like, I felt like it was like God, like, yo, you're gonna make this happen. And that was just like so awesome to like see that full exchange, and to be able to get the ring, to be able to propose, to be able to pay it off, to not have to go into debt doing it, you know what I mean, and just work everything out, you know what I mean. It's like all things work together for the good of those that love the Lord, you know. And you know, so that was essentially what the story was. So that was pretty much it. It was over a length of probably 3 months to go through that process to find exactly what I wanted for her to have, and what I really felt like God wanted me to give to her. Like, I didn't want to cut any corners, you know what I mean? Like, I wanted to make sure that I was getting her what I felt like she deserved, what I felt like I wanted to represent me, because ultimately, you know, people are going to see the ring, and it's a representation of me, and it's a representation of what God is able to do, you know what I mean? And so that was really what it boiled down to, and I was like just so grateful that I had made a relationship with all these people that I could trust, that we were able to all come together, and the plan like literally came into fruition. And I had given up hope. I had shelved it. I had sent the email out to the jeweler and was like, yeah, we're gonna have to put this on pause for the next couple months. And God was like, no, we're not. We're gonna move forward, and I'm gonna put the pieces in place to allow for this to transpire, for this story to take place, and for this blessing to occur. So
I feel so loved. I feel so loved. So loved by, I was gonna say by God, but but by you too. But no, it just says like God is able to do exceedingly and abundantly above all you can think, ask, or imagine. Like when we give up hope, like he's able to just exceed our expectations if we trust him and love him. And even if we don't, I mean, we're his kids, so he just loves to bless us in that way. So I want to let y'all know but I just want to tell the people why I don't be wearing my ring. They probably like, well, Alyssa, you don't even be wearing this ring. I feel convicted right now. After all that, and I ain't wearing the ring. Reason is because I've been pregnant and I put on so much weight that my hands are swollen. And at first we had put some balls in it to make the ring fit, and then we got it taken out. And then also there was a time, y'all, when I lost the diamond out the engagement ring, which I'll do a video on at some point. And so now I'm kind of scared to even wear it sometimes. So I take it off at nighttime so I don't lose it. And sometimes I forget to put it back on. But anywho, so that's why I'm not wearing it. But I do love it. Okay, what else you want to say?
My biggest takeaway from that story is that I allowed for it to be an opportunity to increase my faith in God. Like, I trusted God in a way that I had not trusted him previously. And, you know, faith is like a muscle. You know what I mean? You have to exercise that muscle. And the more that you exercise it, the greater that it grows. And I love that because it says, like, you know, we all are given a measure of faith. You know, and some of us are given a low measure of faith, a small little muscle of faith, and some of us are like naturally have a stronger level of faith. Like, that's one of your spiritual gifting is like faith, you know? And so I just would encourage anyone that's going through a situation where it doesn't seem like things are going to go the way that they want it to go, or they want to like just exercise their faith and grow their faith in a particular area. I hope that this story can encourage you. to know that God can go with you through these circumstances, and it can be a way to like increase your faith in one way or in another way. And this is just an example of that. So that's what I wanted to share.
All right, well, thank you guys for watching Wonderful Acts. Again, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. Again, share this video with a friend, especially a friend who's in that process, that dating process, that courtship process, who's thinking about marriage, but really anybody who, again, needs to just hear a story to boost their faith. So we love you guys, and I'll see y'all next video. Peace.
Peace. Wonderful facts coming soon. Wonderful facts, baby.